Welcome back, everybody, to the Conti and Nich podcast. I'm Gino Conti.
I'm Will Nicholson.
And today, we're going to be talking about basketball. Last week, we talked about football and the top 15 NFL draft predictions. Today, we are going to be speaking about the NBA MVP conversation and who we believe should be the MVP in terms of, like, listing and rankings and whatnot. So I think this one's going to be fun. Last week, we agreed and we were very friendly, like an introduction, this is us type of thing.
I don't think that's happening this time.
Nope. So be prepared.
It's gonna be a war today.
Yeah. So Will and I have some very different opinions, let's say, when it comes to basketball. So this one I think is going to be fun.
Definitely fun. Really quick, thank you to everyone last week for the support on Spotify, YouTube, all that stuff. All the links, if you're watching on YouTube, are going to be in the description. If you're watching on Spotify, thank you for listening to us on Spotify.
Yeah, we can't tell you how much we appreciate it. It really does mean a lot.
Yep. Thank you guys for listening to this video, and we'll get right into it. All right, so we got our MVP picks today. I gotta say, this year has been one of the hardest years to do MVPs.
I agree.
It's very, very tight this year.
Realistically, I only have a top 5 list, but realistically, there's about 7 to 8 people who could win it.
And that's people that legitimately could win it, too.
Yeah, and no one would shrug. Like, no one would bat an eye.
I feel like the past couple of years, you've had one guy, right, where everyone's like, oh, he's going to win
unanimous.
it. Yeah, it's basically unanimous.
Well,
and then
debatable.
Debatable, yeah. And then you have, like, a second guy who's like, oh yeah, he could win it, but everyone knows he's not going to.
Bullshit.
And then you have like 2 more people who are like kind of just throw ups. But this year there's like 7 guys who can legitimately win it.
It's unbelievable. I mean, this just goes to show you just like how good and how big the talent level is in the NBA. I mean, no shit, Sherlock. Like, yeah, it's a great league, but I mean, it's absolutely crazy this year. I really haven't seen anything like it. Have you?
No, I've never seen an MVP race this tight, really, in any sport.
No.
Like, it's so open.
It is. It's nuts.
Yeah. So I'll go into my picks right here and kind of explain them. The number 3 person that I don't have a top 5. It was kind of hard for me to do, but I know Gino does, so I'll just do my top 3. I have Damien Lillard at number 3. He's had a great season. Over the years, too, we've kind of seen Dame grow as he's in the West especially. He's kind of been like the second point guard to Steph Curry. But I think he's just elevated himself this season. He's had a great season. The Blazers are really good this year, so I have him at the number 3. I think he's pretty straight up to have there. You know what? I'm actually just realizing I have a lot of West guys here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's almost like the West is really good this year.
Yeah.
So. At number 2, though, I have Nikola Jokic. This guy, we see him do it all. He averages a lot of assists. He has a lot of rebounds to the center position, and dude can shoot the ball. He's really the modern day center. The only knock on him is defense, but the Nuggets are also just a really, really good team this year. So
it
that's
sucks
why
that they lost
2.
Jamal Murray, man.
I know. You hate to see stuff like that
I'm
happen.
telling you, like, I mean, I know this isn't like the MVP talk right now, but just Jamal Murray, in my opinion, like, people say, oh, he's like whatever, like, don't get too hyped up about him. I think that dude is special. That man went toe-to-toe last season with Donovan Mitchell. They both dropped, 50 apiece in, like, 2 in multiple games?
Yeah.
Or, like, maybe, like, high 40s and then, like, 50s a couple of times.
That series was amazing to watch.
I'm telling you, that Jamal Murray, like, you people might not agree, but Jamal Murray is a special, special talent.
I really do like Jamal Murray. It does suck to see him go down, but, I mean, that means more touches for Jokic, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's more that has to go on his shoulders, and, I mean, it really does suck because I'm not really putting my money on Will Barton to
fill in that position.
to drop a 50 bomb up against Donovan Mitchell. So
yeah, I totally agree with you there. And my number 1 guy who I think is winning the MVP, I think he's been the front runner the entire time, and I feel like that's why he's going to win it. There's other guys, obviously, like Steph, Harden, even LeBron is in the conversation, even though he's hurt. But I think the guy who I think is going to win it this year, like no questions asked, is going to be Joel Embiid, 76ers. Are they still first in the East? I think so, right?
Yeah,
first
Brooklyn.
in the East.
Yeah, since they beat Brooklyn,
yes.
I mean, they have an advantage too.
So first in the East, Embiid plays both sides of the floor. He is the definition of a modern day center, where he can be the best defender on the floor. He can be a post player. He can shoot the outside jumper. that Joel Embiid is a special guy. We, being a Celtics fan, we see Embiid toast us like twice a year, right?
Yeah.
You see it happen. 76ers are great this year. Doc Rivers has done a fantastic job with that team. The front office has done a great job too.
Yeah, Elton Brand.
They've done
Elton
a very,
Brand,
very good job.
Daryl Morey, I think his name is.
Yes.
He was the GM of the Rockets, right? And then he came over.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They've done a fantastic job. So that's why I have Joel Embiid winning my MVP. That's all I have to you now, Gino.
Oh, man.
I'm excited for this list.
Okay, so we'll have a top 3. I have a top 5. So number 5, I have Dame Dollar, Damien Lillard. I mean, I think when it all is said and done, I think Damien Lillard is going to be the best player that everyone forgets about. Like, it is absolutely insane. If Steph Curry did not exist, this man would be getting so much more recognition. This guy would be getting so much more hype. And, I mean, he already does get a good amount right now. Imagine if Steph Curry just wasn't here, or just wasn't in the NBA. I'm not saying he should die, but you know what you know what I'm trying to say here, okay? I think Damian Lillard is an absolutely special, special talent. Like I said, Jamal Murray was special. This dude is on a whole nother level. Without this guy, like CJ McCollum, good. Yusuf Nurkic, good. Robert Covington, good. Enes Kanter, good. Damian Lillard is the fuel that runs this team. They get role players specifically to cater to him because they know that he is the man. I think he's getting paid in a few years' time. I think he's getting paid close to $50 million a year.
It's a lot of
50
money.
or $60 million a year. And you know what? I'm not batting an eyelash.
Yeah.
This man is worth every single penny. This man is worth every single penny. At number 4, I have James Harden. And that's a little surprising. I'm probably coming from you, Will.
You better believe it is.
Yeah, because I think we'll get to this later, but I think that James Harden should be a back-to-back-to-back 3-time MVP. But like I said, we'll get to that later. James Harden, when he was on the Houston Rockets, was asked to be the main guy, to score every single time, to be in isolation, step back, do whatever you have to do, and he fulfilled that role perfectly in Mike D'Antoni's system. He got traded to Brooklyn. What Steve Nash asked him to do was to become more of a facilitator. He has done that along with maintaining his offensive scoring numbers. So that means, in my opinion, you are very valuable to your team, right? Because he can facilitate, he can shoot, he can drive, he can actually somewhat defend now too. A lot of people shit on his defense, but I think it's actually underrated. He can do it all. Anything that is asked of that man, he is able to do, and he is able to do it with flying colors. That brings value, most valuable player, to your team, right? Right, Will?
Nope, I totally disagree. Look,
we told you.
I completely disagree in the fact that, first of all, James Harden over Dame is already rubbing me the wrong way.
Good.
I think it's hard to take James Harden from this Brooklyn team and be like, oh yeah, that guy's the MVP. When you have KD, you have Kyrie, you have so many people doing so many things on this team, I think it's hard to pick out Harden. Well, I do agree Harden is a good player, and I think what he's doing in Brooklyn is great. I think that what Dame is doing is more valuable and holds more value than James Harden putting up good numbers on a good team. And we've seen players do that, but the fact that this team is just so talented with superstars, I think it's hard to pick out one superstar. I would argue that even KD might be over Harden for the MVP race this year.
I mean,
KD's
been hurt. That's the problem.
That is a problem. Yeah, KD has been hurt, but I don't know. Harden this high, especially over Lillard, I'm not sure.
All right, well, number 3, Steph Wardell Curry. Stephen Curry, I understand that the Golden State Warriors are the 9 seed in the West right now, and they're fighting for their playoff lives. What would the Golden State Warriors be without him?
They'd be a lottery team. We saw that last year.
Yeah, I mean, are you putting your faith in Draymond Green to be the number 1 option on a playoff championship team?
No, I am not. That is safe to say.
I mean, this is a bit of a hot take, but neither am I. It's not a hot take at all.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm not putting my faith in Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins every year. This is the year for Andrew Wiggins. No, it's not.
That.
It's not. It's been like this every single year. He's finally going to break out. No, sorry. No.
I had 1 year of that. The year after Zach LaVine won the dunk contest, like 2017, and Jimmy Butler came in. I was like, this is the year that Andrew Wiggins takes the leap, and then he didn't, and I've just been done with Andrew Wiggins.
I know, and I'm not putting my faith in Kevon Looney to carry this squad either. I mean, this team, I'm sorry, the team isn't good.
It's a bad team.
It is a bad team. Yeah.
That's fine to say.
It is a
this team
bad
is Steph
team.
Curry. It's Steph Curry and friends.
Yeah. It is. It's Steph Curry and friends. I can't describe that any better. Number 2. You ready?
Oh boy. I don't know if I'm ready.
CP3.
Oh my god.
Chris Paul.
Oh my god.
Chris Paul, baby.
Oh,
This
no.
man, ever since he came to the Phoenix Suns, they have lost 15 games. Chris Paul is a phenomenal facilitator. This man is the reason why Devin Booker is getting so many open looks. He is the reason why DeAndre Ayton is doing great. The reason why guys like Mikal Bridges, 3-and-D players, can now thrive. The reason why guys Cameron Johnson, a good role player, is going to develop. This man is an absolutely elite floor general. It is exactly what the Phoenix Suns needed. Monty Williams is a hell of a head coach. This man brings so much value to his team. It is unbelievable. I think that when Chris Paul is on his game, he is a top 10 player in the NBA. And I mean that with my full heart.
Gino, I want you to know something. Okay? I am a very big Chris Paul guy. I think he's one of the most complete point guards ever. He can play defense. He plays great with his hands in the passing lane. He's a facilitator. He can score the ball. I love Chris Paul. I love Chris Paul this season. The amount of value that he's brought to this Phoenix Suns team, to a bottom feeder team in the West, to the second team in the West, phenomenal. He's done a great job. And I don't even mind you putting a Phoenix Suns player on this list, but you have the complete wrong Phoenix Suns player. You have Chris Paul over Devin Booker.
Damn right I do.
Second in the West. He's scoring 25 points per game, and he's 4 rebounds, almost 5 assists. Devin Booker is playing great basketball right now, where compared to Chris Paul, I'll pull up a stat. Chris Paul, you're second in MVP.
Yep.
16 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 9 assists. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a great season, but I don't think that's an MVP point guard season.
Hey, but
compared to the other guards in the West, not even the other conference, the West.
Yep.
I think that's crazy.
It's
I think
not
that's
crazy.
a crazy take.
It's not crazy. Hey, listen. The Suns, did they make the playoffs last season?
They didn't, and I agree. That's why Chris Paul is very valuable, but I don't think that makes him the MVP.
Well,
because he's not even the best player on his team.
But he's not the best player on this team, but he is the most valuable.
But he's not even having the best season on his team.
It doesn't matter.
I think it so matters.
It doesn't matter one bit. Dude, he's the reason why the Suns are the second seed in the West. It's him. Because listen, Devin
But
Booker.
how much of that is Devin Booker taking another leap?
Why did he take that other leap?
Because Chris Paul, obviously. Because Devin Booker can now actually play shooting guard instead of point guard.
Yes.
That I do think that Chris Paul brings so much to this Phoenix Suns team. I agree with you there. But you lose me at the MVP. You lose me with handing a 35-year-old?
It doesn't matter what his age is.
35-year-old point guard the MVP. And yeah, it doesn't matter what his age is, but I don't see Chris Paul as that MVP player. I can't picture Chris Paul going to the Phoenix Suns arena in the first round of the playoffs and hoisting up the trophy, even though they don't do that anymore. They do the award ceremony. I can't see that happening.
Dude, I just asked you. I go, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And why is this happening with the Suns? Why is all this stuff happening? And your answer was Chris Paul. So listen,
Yes.
Devin Booker is going to be Devin Booker, regardless of if CP3 or whatever is there. Like, even if he wasn't there, he'd still be putting up these numbers. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that doesn't impress me. That doesn't do anything for me because I know that man can score on anybody. I mean, he dropped 70. I have nothing else to say
Versus
after
our
that.
poor Celtics.
Yeah, versus our Celtics. Rest in peace. We still won the game though. DeAndre Ayton, that man is a double machine, regardless of the fact if Chris Paul is there. Okay, but guess what? Last year they were still doing those same exact things that they're doing this year, but not for winning basketball. They weren't in the playoffs. CP3 gets there. They are now the second seed in the most stacked conference in the NBA. There is one team that is better than them. One. And it is a white-hot Utah Jazz team. Okay, and I don't know this for sure. Like I would have to like think about it, but I think that the Phoenix Suns could take the Utah Jazz in the 7 series. I don't know who would win. I'm not gonna predict they'll win, but I think it would be a hell of a matchup.
See, I hate what you're doing to me here because you're making me have to almost disrespect Chris Paul. I love Chris Paul, right? I'm a big Chris Paul guy, but it more sounds to me, and this is my problem with it, you're making a case like he's supposed to be the most improved, which I can even see, right? But and I agree, he improved this team so much. He did a great job, but I can't see him being the MVP. I don't think he's had an MVP season. The only thing he has, okay, so we've seen in the past, the things that gave you the MVP is unreal stats and good player on good team, right?
Yeah.
Those are the two things. Chris Paul has neither of those. He's not putting up insane stats, and he's not the best player on the best team. He's a very, very good player on a very, very good team, putting up good stats, and he's had a great season, but I don't think that makes him MVP worthy.
So I don't think stats really should matter all that much when it comes to MVP, though. That's the thing. Like, here's the thing. We move the goalposts like every single year, I feel like, when it comes to most valuable player. One year, it's like, oh, well, the team wouldn't be this without him. Or one year, it's, oh, like, he's the best player on the best team. Like, and it's like, oh, he put up 30 and 12, or whatever it may be. Like, it changes every single year. The definition is most valuable player.
But we got to think, too, with most valuable, that has more or less become, like, the best season, right?
It has, but I'm saying it shouldn't.
Okay, see, that's a totally different format, and that's the problem with the MVP, too, is that there's no clear-cut format for the MVP, right? There never has been, and I don't think there ever will be, especially after Russell Westbrook won it in, 2017?
Yeah,
I think that was his year.
Triple-double.
Yeah. So that was one of the only times where an MVP has been a 6th seed, right? He was the best player on his team. His team was a lottery team we saw without him, pretty much.
They were bad.
They were very bad without him, and he put up unreal stats, and that earned him the MVP.
Yeah, so he got all three of the credentials, or
the only thing he didn't hit is having a good team or having a good record, and I think that is important. Like last year, Giannis, I had Giannis as the MVP the whole year. I know you had Harden, but that's where the different MVP format comes in, because did Harden put up unreal stats? Yes. He put up crazy stats. What was the average? Like 35 a game or something?
It was up there, yeah.
It was insane. It was an insane season, but his team wasn't good. They were, the 5th seed?
They were the 4th or 5th.
4th or 5th seed, something like that, right? I think normally that would be an MVP season, right? Like if Harden was doing that this season, I would argue that he would be more in the MVP conversation. But Giannis last season, his team was playing unreal. He was the best player. He was the defensive player of the year, and he was balling out. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, no. Yes, Harden put up crazy stats, but you have the best player on the best team in the NBA putting up the best stats, and I think that secures an MVP overall. But I you know what I mean? The difference between formats.
We'll talk about this more in a minute. I want to get to my number one real quick.
I actually do want to hear your MVP.
No, it's okay. MVP. So we agree. It's look at that. We actually agree on something in this podcast, at least. Joel Embiid.
Wow.
Listen, ever since Doc Rivers came to Philly, he said, Joel, enough with the jump shots, enough with the fadeaways at the elbow. Get your ass in the paint, because that's what you do best. You are a monster. Nobody, I believe, but Zion and Boban Marjanovic, Big Boban down in Dallas.
Big Bobby.
Yep, Big Bobby. Nobody besides them weighs more than you. Okay, you are a beast. You are an interior force. You're an interior presence, and you can shoot. But your number one thing is you are unstoppable. Okay, you are unstoppable. Nobody can guard you in the paint. It's insane. So make that your priority, and then when you can shoot, then you take the open shot, because that's something you also have in your arsenal. Brett Brown did not hold him accountable and did not force him to do what he had to do in order to play winning basketball, and it showed. He took way too many threes, like I said, way too many fadeaways at the elbow, and Doc Rivers got on him, and he held him accountable, and he said, do this, or you will not be like the player you are all meant to be. And yes, Ben Simmons is phenomenal. I love Ben Simmons. but Joel Embiid is the driving force to that team.
I completely, we agree again on the podcast, which is surprising because you guys don't know. Obviously, me and Gino's MVP have been polar opposites the past couple of years. So this is very surprising. But I mean, I think if there was anything close to a clear-cut MVP this year, it would be Joel Embiid, right? You have the guy scoring basically 30 points a game. He's got the double-double. He's got 11 rebounds. He plays fantastic defense. Best team in the East, and the Brooklyn Nets are in that division. So, not division, sorry, conference. Yeah. But it's insane what Embiid has been able to do, and I think he deserves the MVP. And I don't really think that there's that much competition, but there are a lot of guys who can win it, but Embiid, I think, is the best of the best this year, and I think he deserves it.
And I just want to point out the underrated aspect of this whole entire thing. We need to give credit to Dwight Howard. We do.
to Dwight?
Yeah, we do. We need to give credit to Dwight Howard, and I'm dead serious.
What kind of credit are we talking about here?
He took Joel under his wing.
I don't know about that.
He took him under his wing. Because think about it, Dwight Howard is way past his prime, and at this point he's a solid role player in the NBA. But what was Dwight Howard's play style when he was in his prime? Similar to Embiid's now, right?
Yeah, I think it's similar.
Yeah, so
and I think that is an influence, but I wouldn't say he took him under his wing. But I do think Dwight Howard is great for that team.
I think that Dwight Howard is come here, big boy. Let me show you how it's done. You know what I mean? He couldn't do it physically anymore because obviously, like I said, he's in his 30s and he can't really. He's not what he once was, and that's fine. He's still a hell of a player, Hall of Fame career without a doubt. Finally an NBA champion, and he deserves it. Okay, but I think Dwight Howard, in terms of strictly just getting in the paint and strictly being an interior force, he really showed Joel. I wouldn't say he technically showed him the ropes or showed him how to do it, because that's disrespectful to Joel trying to say he didn't know how to do it in the first place. But he showed him how to unleash it, how to be confident, and he was a big influencer. And you know what I'm trying to say? Strictly in terms of that.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think it was great to bring Dwight Howard in too, because their play styles are similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very, very.
Where besides the shooting, obviously, but having Dwight Howard come off the bench and kind of be like a Walmart Joel Embiid almost. You know what I mean? He plays like Joel Embiid. I think those teams work the absolute best, where you have a center that comes in exactly like your starting center. Same play style, because that fits, that works. Back on the Nuggets where they had Jokic starting and then Plumlee coming off the bench, that worked. And I think that this is a similar thing.
Plumlee's a very underrated center, too.
He is a very underrated
center.
He is very good. He should be a starting center on some teams. He might even start here
if he was here. No, seriously. He is on Detroit. And T.J. McConnell for Mason Plumlee, by the way, was a hell of a transaction.
What a deal.
What a deal. So, yeah, but I think, honestly, if you could give MVP to a coach, I would give it to Doc Rivers, man.
I'm being serious.
Like I said, Doc Rivers, Brett Brown was just such a player guy, and you know what I mean? That's not what this team needed at all.
No.
The 76ers were just a sleeping giant, just ready to awaken and just destroy and wreak havoc in the league. And that's what Doc Rivers did. He said, yo, cut the shit now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enough of this, soft Philly stuff. First of all, the fans are ruthless. They won't accept this losing and mediocrity for much longer. And you guys have to have personal pride in yourselves and know that you're just absolute monsters. The 76ers are, a big team. Ben Simmons at point guard. Tobias Harris is huge. Josh Richardson is big and lengthy. I know you got rid of Al Horford last year, so, that gets rid of some sides there. But still, Joel is an absolute tank. They're huge, and now they're a bit more athletic because they got Danny Green, who's a big shooting guard, and they got Seth Curry, who's small, but that guy can shoot the lights out.
Yeah, I really cannot give enough credit to the Philly front office this past offseason, because they were in such a bad spot last season, right?
They were.
They lost the Celtics first round, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, they were in cap hell, too.
Yeah, cap hell. You didn't know what to do with your coach. You had all this talent on the team that you didn't know how to use. It was a bad situation, and then you fire Brett Brown, you bring in Doc Rivers, you make all these offseason moves, you trade away Al Horford's bad contract, as good of a player Al Horford is, and you bring in Seth Curry, you bring in Danny Green, you bring in all these guys.
Howard.
You bring in Dwight Howard, and you bring back Josh Richardson, who I believe was on a contract last year, and you have a real team, you have a real culture of this. Okay, we're gonna play big because we have big players, and Doc is the perfect coach for that, right?
He is.
He's the perfect coach to throw right in there.
Like I said, he holds these teams accountable, and I know a lot of people like to troll on Kendrick Perkins, but I mean, if you watch a lot of the stuff that he says, he literally says like Doc Rivers is such like a good culture setter, is such like a good like tone setter for the team. It's just like for culture, whatever it may be, like whatever you want, he holds you accountable. I'm kind of repeating myself here, but like
That's how Doc is.
Yeah, he's a very good head coach, and a lot of people forgot about it because in the LA Clippers system, like Kawhi Leonard was like the guy. You know what I mean? And it was so clear that management chose Kawhi Leonard over Doc Rivers. So Rivers kind of lost his shine and kind of lost his voice. And his voice kind of got stale after a while in that locker room. And that's really unfortunate because I like Ty Lue. But, I mean, is anybody going to question if Ty Lue is better than Doc Rivers is better than Ty Lue?
It shouldn't be a question.
It
Doc
should not
Rivers
be a
is
question.
so much better.
Like, they're both champions. But, like, I mean, anybody who knows the sport of basketball, Doc Rivers is a Hall of Fame coach.
Definitely. I think the Sixers should have their trophy case filled this year. They should get the MVP. I think Doc should honestly be Coach of the Year. And honestly, Daryl Morey should be Executive of the Year.
I think so.
Because they have done a fantastic job with this franchise. And if you're a 76ers fan, I mean, you should be rejoicing. They have a real shot, especially with LeBron and AD being hurt and come back. They have a real shot to win the ring this year.
Yeah.
I still think Brooklyn has so much talent that it might not even matter. But I think they have a real shot to
I
at
think
least make the
Philly's coming out of
conference.
the East.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think that is...
I say that with zero hesitancy. I say that with full confidence. Philadelphia 76ers are going to sweep the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. And they are going to make it to the NBA.
Can we get that quoted?
We can get that quoted. I guarantee. What's that, Charles Barkley? Dude, I'm telling you, they are. It's gonna be hell for Brooklyn. No team with anything less than the 11th ranked defense has ever made it to the NBA Finals.
Wow.
I mean, I don't care if you have Kyrie, if you have KD, if you have Harden. Like, no team with, like I said, less than the 11th ranked defense in the NBA has ever made the NBA Finals. You need to have a top 11 defense to make it. That is like a prerequisite. Yeah. Okay. Like, due to recent history. Like, any NBA history, not even recent one. Like, back to the Wilt Chamberlain, George Mikan, Bill Russell days. Like, Big Game
when
James.
It was a top 8 defense because there were 8 teams.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, it's absolutely insane. I think I think the Lakers are going to repeat. I mean, once AD and LeBron get healthy, I don't see anybody beating them. But I think that Phillies and LA are going to make it to the finals.
That would be a great finals matchup. Like, that would be awesome. Also, that conference finals I'd watch every second of that.
Me too.
Are you kidding? Brooklyn versus Philly. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
We're gonna watch the Celtics go out in the second round again.
Yep.
And it's gonna be really sad to see. But it is what it is.
So we went a bit off topic there. I want to get back to an MVP conversation that you and I have not had very agreed-filled conversations with.
We still have not buried this casket.
We have not buried, and I don't think we ever will. I'm gonna die on this hill. I swear.
And I won't let you because it's wrong.
It's not wrong, ladies and gentlemen. People who are listening to this podcast, James Harden is the MVP of 2020, of 2019, and he actually was of 2018. This man should be with Larry Bird for back-to-back 3 years in a row, three-peat MVP. Will Nicholson disagrees for some reason.
I disagree wholeheartedly with all of that. Except he did deserve his MVP in 2018,
yes.
And that's the only one I think that he deserves. I could see maybe 2017. No, actually,
that was Westbrook.
With Westbrook, the one where he was competing with Steph, 2016. I mean, Steph easily had those locked up, right? Unanimous. But Harden had a good season and everything. I think every year besides 2018, where Harden has been in the conversation, there's just been a better guy, right? There's just always been a better player.
Well,
in 2020, Giannis deserved that MVP. Completely, he was the best player on the best team, putting up the best stats.
It's not the MVP. It's not the most better player. It's the MVP, most valuable player.
The MVP though, that's the best season. The best season from a player.
Dude.
And the record plays a part in that.
I need to do, but it's.
Who won the
I don't
MVP
get how
in
you don't see
2019?
this.
I'm blanking
Dude,
on who won it in 2019.
It was Giannis. Giannis won back-to-back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Giannis won back-to-back.
And he deserved both of them.
No, he didn't deserve
he
one.
So did
Giannis
though.
is a fraud MVP.
Oh, that
okay?
is ridiculous.
Giannis is a fraud. It's not ridiculous. I don't even think he should be top 5.
Oh,
I'm just
in the
joking.
words
No,
of
that I'm
Stephen
joking.
A. Smith,
No,
blasphemy.
that's okay. That I'm joking about. He was the number 2 in 19 and 20. Like, there was
No.
without a doubt.
See,
But, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, Giannis deserved both those MVPs just because his team was good. He was putting up unreal stats. I don't know how those two Giannis MVPs are debatable. And you can argue like, oh yeah, he choked in the playoffs. He didn't play like he should have in the playoffs. Fine, like completely agree. He should have played better in the playoffs. But in the regular season, and it's a regular season award, Giannis deserved the 2019 and the 2020 MVP because he had the best season. By a landslide, he had the best season.
I mean, it doesn't really matter who has the best season, though.
But to win
Think about
MVP,
it.
that's the criteria.
No,
That's always been the criteria.
It shouldn't be.
Besides the Westbrook year.
It shouldn't be, dude. What I'm telling you is, look at the Rockets now, dude. They're last in the West. You got rid of Westbrook too, but like, think about Russell Westbrook and Mike D'Antoni's system. Do you know what Mike D'Antoni's system consists of?
It's 7 seconds or less.
7 seconds or less.
Well,
so
not really anymore.
A lot of
quick shots.
It was so a lot of fast break offense, a lot of isolation, a lot of 3-point shooting and driving. 50% of Russell Westbrook's game is I'd say about 75 to 90% of Russell Westbrook's game is driving.
Yeah.
That man only was allowed, due to his own deficiencies on offense, to run 50% of that man's offense. So he was pretty much cut off at the knees because you can't shoot. He couldn't do what that offense calls for him to do, so he wasn't as good of a player as he could be. And we're seeing it in Washington this year that they're now allowing him to be that player. So Russell Westbrook, like I said, was cut off at the knees right away when he went to Houston. I mean, it doesn't really matter how phenomenal of a driver he is. If you can't shoot in D'Antoni's system, you're not going to work out and you're not going to last long. I don't like hearing people's argument, oh, he had Westbrook. It doesn't matter to me. You really didn't have Russell Westbrook. You had 50% Russell Westbrook. Okay.
Russell Westbrook is still a great talent.
He absolutely is. But like I said, you see it this year in Washington, he's absolutely insane, and he's by no doubt about it. He is in the Hall of Fame. Well, I think one of the greatest point guards ever. Okay, but I mean, he wasn't himself. He wasn't allowed to be himself. You know what I mean?
See, I agree with that. I think Westbrook didn't work in the D'Antoni system, and I never really thought he would. I also didn't really think that Washington was going to work out this year. I didn't really like how Bradley Beal and Westbrook would mix.
Yeah.
And I think that's become apparent that they really don't. But I understand the point you're trying to make that, oh, Harden didn't have Westbrook. But I don't think that really puts him over the edge to be the MVP. Because don't get me wrong, Harden had fantastic seasons in 2020, and honestly, if Giannis didn't play, if Giannis didn't play as good as he did, Harden would have been my MVP, probably no question, right? Because there was no other player that was playing well enough for me to go, oh, he has it over Harden besides Giannis. You don't see a season like that, right? You don't see a season where a guy comes in, he doesn't really have a jump shot, but he's Shaq level dominance, right? He scores 30 points a game, he pulled down 10 rebounds, and he's the defensive player of the year. They're the number 1 team in the East, and I don't think you see a season like that often. And I have winning over everything, pretty much, right?
I for the most part, I do too.
Yes. So that's why, Harden had a fantastic season. He had his Russell Westbrook season, right? But in Russell Westbrook's MVP season, there wasn't really a guy that was he's better than Westbrook this season. And, obviously the media, I think, played a part in Westbrook's MVP with, oh, he's without KD, go watch him ball out. And he did.
And not to mention, he was in elite company because him and Oscar Robinson, I'd say the second greatest point guard of all time, Oscar Robinson, was the only other guy to average a triple-double in a season. Yeah. And Russell Westbrook, I know we were only talking about 1 year, but he did it 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So it's insane.
it was a historic season, and I will always argue that Westbrook does deserve that. But I think for the 2019 and the 2020 MVP, Giannis just had such a good year, that you can't compare it to Harden's, right? You can't get the record doesn't even make it like it shouldn't match up.
So I mean, so let me ask you a question here. Do you agree with the whole thing that every year, yes, like there is a different MVP and there is a contender,
Yes.
but LeBron realistically is the MVP? Like you've heard that before, right?
Yes.
So
and I agree with that, but that's why I think that it's the best player having the best season. Otherwise, LeBron should be the MVP since like 2007.
no. So that's what I'm saying. Like we all agree that and that LeBron James realistically is the MVP every single year. And
he is the most valuable basketball player in the world.
In the league, yep. In the world.
Not just in the league,
in the world.
In the entire world.
No, you're right. But so let me follow through with you. Yeah. Let me follow through with you on that. So, do you believe that reasoning for him being the most valuable is because like without him his team flops, and without him his team fails, and he is the reason that team thrives?
I think that's a part of it, but I think there's so many things that makes LeBron the most valuable. First of all, his upbringing, the way that he presents himself, everything about LeBron James has what you want your kids to watch, right?
Yep.
The kid from Akron didn't know his dad. He was only with his mom, and he worked hard. He got himself to the league, and now he's here, and he builds schools in Akron, and he does all these things. He doesn't have any like controversy behind him. And LeBron is just he's a player that you have to love, right?
Yeah.
You have to love what he does for the game.
And listen, I respect that so much. Like his upbringing, like tough times, troubling times, and grinding, do whatever you gotta do, and like a very big like hype, like a lot of hype, like unbelievable.
Dealing with the hype too.
Yeah, coming out of high school, like not
insane.
even any
no
college.
No one ever had that hype.
Yeah,
ever.
exactly, and I respect the hell out of him for that. But that doesn't really have anything to do with him being the MVP. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with
like
that.
the upbringing, like the whole like Cinderella story. I wouldn't call it Cinderella, but you know what I'm trying to say.
That
really
doesn't make him. That doesn't make him the MVP.
Yeah.
Season in, season out. And that wasn't what I was trying to argue either. But it's just that the value. I was trying to say the value that he brings to the NBA. Imagine if the NBA never had a LeBron James.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the NBA would look like.
I think
can't even fathom it.
I personally think Steph Curry would be the face of the league.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Probably.
but we're getting off topic there for a second. But I just wanted to say, I think the main reason for LeBron James, like technically, like we all know in our heart of hearts, being the MVP every single year, I think that's because, like, just without him, I mean, look at what the Lakers are right now. They're in complete purgatory right now. Like they're like barely holding their head above water, trying not to drown. Okay, do you not see any resemblance right now with the Houston Rockets once James Harden left?
I do see that, but also the Rockets have kind of blown it up in general, right? They've blown it up. I mean, when you lose a 35 point per game score, obviously your team is gonna be bad. But I don't think it's fair to judge that and look back to 2019 and 2020 and be like, oh, he should have won the MVP because of that, because that team was meant for James Harden, right? And obviously, if you take out James Harden, the team is going to be worse, right?
So, meaning he is the most valuable player.
No, because that's not what I think the MVP means. I think it's the best player having the best season. And in those years, Giannis was the best player having the best season, putting up the best stats. Even though Harden's stats were incredible, best team, best player, that means a lot, right? Best record.
But let me ask you this now. So that Mike Budenholzer system in Milwaukee, right? Mm-hmm. They have some pretty damn good players, right?
They do.
Chris Middleton, another all-star. They have the Lopez brothers, and Brook Lopez has turned himself into a very good shooting center, along with not losing.
I know where you're going with this. I've heard this one before.
Along with not losing his paint production as well. Okay, Robin Lopez is a good mid-range shooter and a good defender and a good rebounder. Okay, who else do they have that's good? They used to have Eric Bledsoe, but now they have Drew
Pat
Holiday.
Connaughton still.
Who?
Pat Connaughton.
Yes, Pat Connaughton can still shoot.
Marshfield or not Marshfield, Massachusetts represent.
Yeah, there you go. What's it called? Drew Holiday, who I think is like a very, very underrated point guard.
Yes.
That team, I think, would be the equivalent to like success of like the Indiana Pacers without Giannis. Do you know what I'm trying to say like that about that? Like,
If
like
you're trying to say if you pick Giannis off this team, they'd still be a good team.
they'd still be a good team.
And I disagree.
You really disagree?
No, I think this team. Okay, they would not be a playoff team if
You don't
Giannis
think
was
so?
on this team. No, 100% not. Especially not in the East. Like I think that team without Giannis, like the Charlotte Hornets with LaMelo, might be better this year.
No way.
I
Oh my
think
God, I
straight
cannot
up-
believe you just said
I think straight up
Oh my God,
they might be better.
I cannot believe you
Okay,
said that.
hold on. Listen. Let's take Giannis off the Bucks, right?
Yes.
I think the Bucks are one of those 8 and 9 teams that are. I think they're right where Charlotte is, right? One of those 8 and 9 teams trying to compete for the 8th seed. So I think that's a
Oh my
debate.
God, dude. I'm sorry. I think that's ridiculous.
Especially the team in
ridiculous.
2020. Giannis makes that team. Okay, obviously they're a great team. Maybe they'd be better. Maybe they'd be like a sixth seed. But think about how competitive the East was this year. You have the Knicks who have taken a step in making the playoffs, and you have teams like, obviously the Raptors aren't having a good season at all.
Yeah.
But they were the champion 2 years ago. So I think the East is
And they were the
competitive this
second
year.
seed last year in the playoffs, weren't
Exactly.
they?
Yeah, they were. So I think that it's so competitive that if you take a guy like Giannis off of the Bucks, they're just not a good team. They don't have that star player. You know what I mean?
gotta disagree with you, man. I mean, dude, like Chris Middleton is a 2-time All-Star, so he's proven that
That's fair.
So he's proven
But we
his
saw what that team was without Giannis in last year's playoffs when
their
Giannis
efficiency
got hurt.
goes up as a team.
No,
It does.
That team, just they're not the same without Giannis.
So listen, but I want to bring this to you. So the Indiana Pacers last season, they were a team that had like one All-Star in Victor Oladipo, right? A good center in Miles Turner, and like a bunch of good role players, like a sharpshooter with Doug McBuckets, and like just some good like solid overall defenders, right?
Yeah.
Is that not what the Milwaukee Bucks is without Giannis? And they both have a good coach.
But here's the thing: that whole Indiana Pacers team is built off that kind of grit and grind, right?
Yes.
And I think no matter what, if you take any 30-point per game scorer off of a team, they're going to be worse. Now, not only you're taking a 30-point per game scorer off, you're taking the best defender in the league off of that team.
Ben Simmons is the best defender in the league.
I still think it's Giannis. Or that year, at least, his MVP year, it was Giannis. He won Defensive Player of the Year. I think Ben Simmons will probably win Defensive Player. Well, maybe not, but I think he's in the conversation. But the point is, if you take a player like that off of a team, they're gonna be worse. And offensively, defensively, they're going to be worse. And that's why I think that they're
I just don't think we're ever going to agree on this.
No, we will never agree on that. But it is fun to debate about.
Yeah, all right. So, listen, we're going to put a poll up on Instagram about this. And I want you guys to answer, and I want you guys to answer the right way. Okay? The right
You
way.
better answer the right way.
Yeah. You all know in your heart of
What are we
hearts
going to
I'm
do
right.
the poll? Who should have won the 2019 or the 2020 MVP, Giannis or Harden?
We can do that.
We can do that. All right, we'll make that the poll.
And then we'll do another one. Should Harden be a 3-time MVP? Like back to back to back?
I can already tell you what the answers to that poll are going to be.
Yes. They're going to be yes.
No, they won't.
Because listen,
It's just...
Will.
There's only one other player to do that. James Harden did not have that type of season.
Will, listen, I want to say this right now and make it clear to everybody. You're like my absolute boy. You're one of my best friends, all right? Wouldn't trade you for the world.
Man, you too.
But on this topic, I hate you. I hate you.
This is the one topic where me and Gino are going to be 80
enemies
in the retirement home. Going, Giannis deserved his MVP. It's gonna be that.
Listen, we're gonna be 80 years old in the retirement home, and we're gonna have one good shot left in us. Okay, and we're gonna use it on each other over this. Okay,
this will totally be it.
When this podcast is still a thing 80 years from now,
you will see.
You will see. We'll definitely have like cameras or like live streams by then. You'll see the brawl that ensues.
Just wait till Conti and Nick 2080.
Oh yeah, Conti and Nick. Yeah, we'll have our grandsons on the pod.
All right, well, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Conti and Nick. Talked a little bit about the MVP race and a lot about James Harden and Giannis. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Link to everything is going to be in the description if you're watching YouTube, if you're watching on Spotify. I think if you're watching us on Spotify, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and all of our social medias.
Yeah, once again, just like Will said, make sure to follow us. Spotify is a huge platform for us, but YouTube's a really good one too. We also have an Instagram that you can follow. It has mini clips of what we're saying, what we're debating. So if you can't catch the whole show, you'll at least be able to get a little taste of what we're saying. So I think that's pretty damn cool. Everyone have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week. And James Harden.
Take care, guys.